I'm Jess with the Lompoc Public Library, and this is part of our craft series in Reading Colors Your World. Today we are going to do an art hack. What is an art hack, you might ask? It's when we take a pre-existing artwork that somebody else has made and we're going to modify it for our use. It's kind of like fan fiction but with art, so art fiction or an art hack. Today you will need the paintbrush and paints. These happen to come from our art kit that you can pick up from the Lompoc Public Library while supplies last. And you will need to have a cup with water, and that's something you provide at home. And in the art kit, you will have a piece of work on paper that is printed out, and ours today is this one. There's upwards of 5, I think, different pieces of art that you may select. And this one is Distant View of Niagara Falls. It was painted in 1830 by Thomas Cole, who lived from 1801 to 1848, originally on an oil on canvas. And you've heard pictures speak 1,000 words, and portraiture or art on canvas also speaks volumes, and you can learn how to read it by checking out an art book or a craft book from the library. Or you can go online visiting museums and different universities that might have art collections available for you to view free online. And today we are going to be modifying this piece of art, which is in the public domain, along with the other artworks. Your kit might include Water Lilies by Claude Monet, Under the Waves of Kanagawa, which is by Katsuhiko Hokusa, a Japanese artist, or The Bay of Marseille by Paul Cézanne, or Paris Street Rainy Day by Gustave Caillebotte. All right, we're going to take water with our paintbrush and we're going to get our art stuff nice and wet. It might take quite a bit of water to get the paint ready and to soak through. Now, if you had picked up our kit, there's about 5 colors available: blue, red, green, orange, and yellow. And you can combine some of these to make other colors as you wish. I'm going to start with green, but you can pick whichever color inspires you. This is your modification or your artwork. And what we're going to do is paint over this. Now, if you have markers, colored pencils, crayons even at home, you can use those as well. You can even use stickers or glitter or other pieces like tissue paper as well. You're making this your own. And so we're going to just paint right on the page. And you might find that one medium, or rather one type of paint works better than another, or maybe markers are more your thing, or colored pencils or colored pens. Depending on the artwork, whatever you're adding will be how you change the work. There's a great deal of artwork spanning hundreds, thousands of years, and art tells the story of what inspires us, opens up new worlds and new channels, and there's different types of artwork as well. So it might be that you see something that is aesthetically pleasing to you, and it might be that it belongs to a certain school of art or to a certain time period, and you can definitely print out artwork. You don't have to use what we provide. You can find different artwork. Again, if you use various museum sites, they'll often have public domain images that are free to download and modify. Do remember that artwork, as with books, is under copyright. So you'll have to look for public domain or publicly available art. You can also look on Wikipedia. Their artwork or what images that they put on are public domain and available for anyone to print and use. And that's also a great resource to learn about different types of art and to follow the links available through Wikipedia or other sites to learn more about that artwork. For example, distant views of Niagara Falls, while made in 1830 by Thomas Cole, was originally sketched in 1829. It takes a while to make a masterpiece such as this. Thomas Cole went to Niagara Falls and he saw what was there and he was inspired and he painted it. What's unique about this image that he originally made is that it wasn't as pristine or as amazing as he had it. If you'll look at the original art, there is nature and trees and an uninterrupted river. And up close, you'll see two Native Americans looking over this scene. By 1829, however, there were hotels, factories, all over the place, and there wasn't as many trees as you see here. In fact, there was a voracious amount of industry happening all along the river, and in that time period, they polluted the river a great deal. So Cole, when he painted this, was trying to envision what it would look like without the industry, without the factories and the smoke billowing into the air. What would it look like without all of the hotels? And he was very moved by the contrast between the open nature and what humanity has wrought on the land. He was one of the early environmentalists, in a way, and his painting erased the human devastation wrought by colonialism and conquest in the region, as written by the exhibition or artists and museum workers at the Institute of Chicago. Often with art, especially if you see it online or if you visit a museum in person, they'll tell you what the title of a work was, the date it was made, the artist, the medium, and they usually will give you some context or some description about what is happening in the scene or what inspired the artist. And in this case, it was a sense of wanting to erase the damage that has been done by industrialism and to show people what things could look like. All right. So one of the things that Cole did was he put in as his subject, as the people inhabiting the place, Native Americans. And for him, this was a way, an aid for the viewer to see that this land is North America. To bring a sense of place to it, because if you're viewing this art from anywhere, it might represent anywhere. Oh, that could be anyone's backyard. That could be the Idaho Falls or any other piece of place. So we wanted to definitely give a sense of place to it by giving it a subject or a person within which to symbolize the location. So as much as the people represented within are very much as part of the setting, as the trees, the river, and the sky, which has its its own baggage and context to it as well. To it, also the fact that he made the people very small in there and in the center just gives the grandeur to the place. He brings a scale to it. Otherwise, you might not realize how big the trees are or how distant the waterfall. In many ways, it brings a human scale to the land because we have a very good understanding of how tall a person is. And by showing an upright standing person, you have a means of comparing how tall something is or how far away something is, because you can situate yourself where the person is or compare everything to the height of that person. Definitely also reinforcing how big this landscape is. This isn't a little piece of a place. This is a massive region around Niagara Falls. It also does another thing by putting the person as Native American. It also shows this without all of the industry, without the hotels and the factories. This scene is also showing the contrast between how Cole imagined the place looked under the ownership or stewardship of the Native American people who rightfully owned the place, and then what Europeans have done to this place after they took it away from Native Americans, showing a contrast in stewardship, in use of the place. And in many ways, this becomes a commentary on that colonialism, imperialism, and on the conquest of the land. And the different style and different methods in which European-based society uses Niagara Falls versus how it was when they first settled there. All right, and that's just one reading. Again, this is an interpretation as presented by the Institute of Art of Chicago. And there are many interpretations that can be built by reading a painting. There's so much that an artist can express visually that they might not express within the written word. And so looking at art can open up windows into other perspectives, other places, can show you more than just what is there, can show you what they wish was there. In this case with Cole, this is not what he saw when he looked at this vista. This is what he imagined to be there from what was actually there in 1829. So in many ways, he removed bits from this landscape. If he had taken a photo, he would have had many different buildings there. The water would have looked different. The sky would have looked different. In many ways, he modified the scene. Like you are modifying this. You are creating your own vision of what's there. You could add animals, fish, birds to the setting. You could populate it with more people. Or you could erase some of the trees, some of the water. Whatever inspires you, you can do over this. And this is also a unique way to take a classic and remake it, something that you might be able to hang up in your room or in another place, something you can make your own. Because sometimes it is intimidating to look at a blank canvas and transform it. And so this way you can color in the shades or make something that speaks to you. What is incomplete about the painting? What is it that you would add or even take away from a painting? Do you need all the lilies in the water lilies painting, for example? Would you add a surfer to the waves of Kanagawa? Or maybe a shark? Maybe you want to highlight or add shading and background to bring more of a contrast to what is there. You can find artwork online that you could modify to your tastes, but just make sure that it is public domain, or at least public domain is the safest way to find images that you can modify. Give yourself some credit when you do modify for your personal use these images. Now, because of how there are a multitude of colors that you can exploit in the original painting, maybe you want to make more white to bring more tension or more movement to the water. Maybe even add different elements to truly show how vibrant the waves are or the current. Maybe you want to add a really, really tall tree. Or maybe you would like to add buildings. Insert the buildings that were erased from this scene. You might have one of the other paintings, like Under the Waves of Kanagawa, which is a giant wave that you might change, or the Bay of Marseille, which does have buildings in it, or Pear Street, Rainy Day. Maybe you'll insert something modern into Gustave Caillebote's painting. Add a cell phone, for example, or maybe somebody's on a tablet. Bring the artwork up to date. That could be one of the things you do. And not everything is going to be good. Give yourself permission to mess around with it and see what inspires you. For example, this is what I ended up making. I took the old painting and I wanted to make these clouds more green, more ominous. And I changed some of the clouds up here to be more blue towards the top. Not everything's going to be a masterpiece. But definitely play around with it, see what works.